Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So today what I want to do is talk about fat acceptance TikTok. I want to talk about the overall theme of the fact that they have really lost sight of any kind of goal. And I think what people tend to say about fat acceptance and body positivity and this type of thing is that in the past, there really was a goal. There was a movement to try to get people to be more okay with themselves. There was a movement to try to get people to not be really nasty towards people that are overweight. And there was a point to be made, in the mid-2010s, for example. And I just want to say that it's in my opinion that at this point, all those points are now completely gone. People within fat acceptance really have lost the plot. There's no actual goal anymore. And I want to show you a few examples of clips like this.
It's really funny because a lot of cis dudes, or just like dudes in general, because I don't know if you're cis or not, continue to bring up this idea of force. They're like, you just want to force people into sleeping with you. You just want to force people into being attracted to you.
So it's important to understand where this is coming from. This is coming from the overall sentiment within the fat acceptance movement, where they are saying that if you do not find a fat person attractive, there is something wrong with you. And they will often try to give a runaround and say back and forth, no, that's not what I'm saying, that's not what I'm saying. But if you aren't attracted to fat people, then you're just taking in systems of oppression and you're just falling for it and you're a part of the problem. So you are saying there's something wrong with somebody for not liking you, which is toxic. And that's where these comments are coming from.
What about consent? And I think that's hilarious for a multitude of reasons, some of which are so obvious I don't need to say them, but I'm probably going to say them.
Yeah, the concept of consent is very hilarious. Extremely so, apparently.
When are you all going to apply this argument to yourselves? When are you all going to apply the argument to yourself that you should stop forcing people to sleep with you?
This is the issue I have with a lot of very far left activists, which this person, she has a lot of political stuff on her TikTok. They view people in such collectives. You're not responsible for your own behavior. You're responsible for the behavior of your collective group, which is very toxic. Now, people that are saying this to her, she specifically talks about why you should find fat people attractive or why it's wrong not to find fat people attractive all the time. I saw it many, many times on her feed. So a lot of people that are saying this, they say you. They're not even saying it in the way that I would, where I would say fat acceptance in general, which again, it's not really a collective identity. It's more of a movement. It's more of a political, discourse type of thing. It has nothing to do with these people being women, these people being fat, really. It has nothing to do with any of that, in my opinion. It's more so just the mindset and the actual arguments of the actual movement that I'm talking about. But she's going after people for their gender. She's saying men in general. And she is blanketing that just because some men have issues in this area, that means that all men have issues in this area, which is extremely collectivistic and toxic. This is something that I find really, really disgusting across the board. I'm pretty sure that anybody arguing that on your page is going to be arguing that in general, or values consent in general. Hello. It doesn't take rocket science. I don't know if her smug faces are supposed to be like really persuasive, but they are so turning me off to what she's saying. It's actually disgusting me, the way that she's acting. So I don't know if that's the point. Maybe she just wants more vitriol. She wants more hate. She wants the the sort of hate clout or engagement on her TikTok channel or whatever you would call it, but it's not doing anything for the actual movement, for fat people, for anything. I'm not seeing how any of this is making the world a better place. To me, it just seems like she is just airing out her grievances against men in general and really coming from a place of bitterness, spite, and hate herself. So I think that the whole idea that they're supposed to be making the world a better place, she has completely lost touch with that. Two wrongs don't make a right. Just because some men have issues with consent, which is a huge issue in society, that doesn't mean that it's okay for you to have issues with consent just because you're a woman, just because you're a fat woman. That logic is disgusting. It's very much an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. It's very, very old world type of views that I don't support, and it's really not making the world a better place. Just because somebody's done something wrong doesn't mean you should blame somebody just for being a part of a similar identity group. Just because there is one injustice in society doesn't mean that it's okay to perpetuate that injustice in a different way or to create even more injustice in society in response. That's disgusting, period. Let's go ahead and move on to the next person.
Great question. It's a privilege to have time to exercise. It's a privilege to have the ability to afford a gym membership. It's a privilege to be able to fit into gym machines. It's a privilege to know what to do in a gym.
What she's saying, it doesn't apply to the vast majority of fat people. She's really just trying to shame anybody else from advocating for fat people to go to the gym, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with suggesting to somebody who's overweight to go to the gym. I don't even see how that's offensive. I would just say make sure you're going to the gym before you tell somebody else to go, because otherwise it's hypocritical and it's kind of like, obviously you don't have the answers because you ain't going either. That's how I would take it. But I have a friend, he's super into the gym, and he always pushes me to go to the gym. I don't necessarily listen, but it's on my mind, right? There's nothing offensive about him telling me to do that. And a lot of these things, they don't apply to me. I do have enough money to go to the gym. I have a gym membership, right? I have enough time to do that. I have all these things because I've cultivated it. And I think it's important that if you do have the opportunities or you have ways of making things more possible, you should take it. You should do it. I think a lot of people forget the fact that it costs a lot of money to overeat, especially in today's economy. So eating a bit less, not drastically less, but maybe not going out to eat 5 times a week, you could pay for a gym membership, period. Like, you need to work with what you have. I think a lot of people come at everything from such a scarcity mindset that they don't understand that there is enough resources to get ahead within their own work life, money life, right? Within their own situation. And also, you don't have to go to a gym to exercise. You don't have to do anything like that. So at the end of the day, you just need to work with what you have and make lemonade out of lemons, right? It's like you can make something work out of what you have. People who struggle with money, we know how to do this. We know how to get blood out of a turnip. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive, right? So utilize that for your own health, for your own survival, because you're worth that. You are worth that effort. Not corporations, not giving your money to McDonald's. That's not worth your effort. That's not worth your time at work. That's not worth this money at all.
It's also a privilege to live in the vicinity where a gym is. If you saw one of my last videos, I talk about how gyms are built in certain affluent areas. It's a privilege to be able to get outside into a safe neighborhood and walk or jog. It's a privilege to be able-bodied enough to exercise. It's a privilege to be able to afford the right clothes to exercise in. It's a privilege to be able to easily find clothes that fit you to exercise in. It's a privilege to not feel intimidated when walking into a gym.
How you feel is certainly not a privilege. Feelings have nothing to do with privilege. It has to do with a reality of certain things. If you say it's a privilege to be able to walk, for example, I can understand what you're saying. It's definitely a disadvantage to not be able to walk, whether you're injured or you're paralyzed or whatever it is. It's definitely a disadvantage. I would completely understand that. But to say it's a privilege to not feel intimidated at the gym, that's really extra. Like, I'm sorry, that is ridiculous. You are not always going to feel happy all the time. Feelings are not reality a lot of the time, and you need to just, sometimes you gotta not listen to your feelings. If you are just so intimidated by the gym, you want to go to the gym, but you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it. Just throw the feeling aside. It's not a helpful feeling. It's maybe not even real. At least go and be traumatized at the gym. Then you can be scarred afterwards. But if nothing's even happened, and even if something happens once, that doesn't mean it would happen every time. You know, this kind of take on life is like awful. So if you ever fail in your life, just give up, is what she's saying. If something ever doesn't work out, just stop trying. And how is this gonna help anybody? That's my point. She's losing the plot. She literally thinks that she's helping fat people by making these arguments, and she's not. How are you helpful at all? Even if somebody can't walk, you should still talk about ways that they could be active, right? Talk about things that they could do. You're supposed to be a fitness person, right? Why don't you have any solutions for different kinds of people in different kinds of situations? That would actually be helpful. But she doesn't do this because she's lost the plot. There's no point in what she's saying. There's no help. You are not helping anybody. You are just making the world a little bit darker. You're making the walls close in on people a little bit more. That's what you're doing. So again, you've lost the point.
If you struggle to understand the severity of fat phobia and you don't really get why fat people are always talking about being fat, I really recommend you look at my last video and read the comments, because in the comments there are hundreds and hundreds of people talking about how they grew up and wished for something like this. They wished to like cut pieces off themselves. They wished for diseases. They wished for tapeworms. They wished for eating disorders. All of that as children. Just so they would maybe one day get treated like people.
So the thing that gets me about this, you know, she actually has the song in the background called Fat Funny Friend, I think it is. And I heard that song, and that song was so guttural to me. I literally like bawled my eyes out when I first heard it, because that song, it touches on so many deep feelings and deep things of being overweight when you're growing up. And it was very, very cathartic to hear it, to be honest. Now, when she's talking about people putting out stuff in Sharpies, like I remember being young and having pictures of myself in the 2000s and like drawing what should change and, you know, doing this kind of stuff. Like a lot of these situations are very, very real. Now, where I do not agree with her is where she says to be treated like people. The biggest issue I have with this logic is it makes it all about everybody else. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with anybody else. Growing up, I did not have constant people bashing me for being overweight, but I did it to myself every single day. I would look in the mirror and hate what I saw. I hated my body every second of growing up. I would look at other guys and I would be jealous of what they had, what I didn't have. I was so distraught over it, and I would have just given anything for it to have been able to change. And so it frustrates me to hear this on her end, just because she's taking a real serious guttural issue, and either unwittingly or not, she is manipulating people's memories of those things, because a lot of times it really is about how you feel about yourself. A lot of the time, because you are with yourself the most. And so when I see that, it kills me to think about all of the fat people that have looked for answers, that have wanted solutions, and our medical establishment completely failing spectacularly. And that breaks my heart. When I heard that song, it really made me think about why I'm doing this, because this has to end. And to actually advocate for fat people in a lot of ways is to come up with a solution to get the situation in the world to the point where the vast majority of people can control the situation, especially those that are especially vulnerable, especially large, that have serious psychological and physiological issues that are keeping them in that state. And I will do what I can to change it, because I actually do care. I don't know if these people do. I think that she does care. I just think that she comes at it from such a place of, I've tried to lose weight, it didn't work, so I've given up. And I don't want people to try something that won't happen. And to me, I've never supported that mindset. I've always had a different view of life and a different view in general, that if I cannot find a way, I will make a way. And I don't trust people. I don't trust when people tell me, you can't do this. I don't trust it. I have a skepticism of people that say things like that. So I looked and looked and looked, and I will do damn near everything I can to make sure that this issue does not persist, that future generations will not have to deal with this if they don't want to. I want people to have a situation where they can be rewarded for their efforts, rather than the health system and the way that things are talked about. It really enforces doing this stuff, losing weight, in ways where you cannot win. And it demoralizes people. And it's awful. And that's what I want to change. Now, she doesn't care about that because she's lost sight of the goal. And that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to lose sight of the goal, because it is about ending this issue, period. Because it is real. It's awful to feel this level. You feel like your body's betrayed you. It's like, it's just such an awful, awful thing to grow up with. And kids and teens and stuff, they don't think about it in a clear way. They think about it in a very toxic, simplistic way, just because your brain isn't fully developed. And it's just something that needs to stop. It has to stop.
It's really frustrating being a fat person and trying to express what the experience of fatness is like when y'all don't seem to want to listen. People say don't compare trauma, but the trauma of growing up fat truly could not be understood if you did not grow up fat. There's nothing like it.
This also doesn't make as much sense. I will just offer as a criticism. If you want people to understand, telling people they can never understand is not helpful at all. That doesn't make any sense. If you say that to people, then they will not try. The fact is, there are many, many, many issues that are comparable to being overweight. People of all sizes have body issues. People of all sizes have health issues. People of all sizes struggle with fitting into certain situations, or social anxiety, or any of these different things, or feeling that they have to have a role that they don't want to be in. All of these things are very, very relatable. And when you actually looked at the song of Fat Funny Friend, I saw so many comments saying, I have never been overweight, but I completely understand how you feel. I have felt the same way. I saw comments saying, I feel weird that I relate to this song, even though I've never struggled with my weight, because those feelings are universal. And to try to act like, to try to separate fat people from the collective society, it is not helpful. That's not going to help fat phobia. That's not going to help people listen. And again, I do think that this person is genuinely trying, but they're not getting it. you're a little off here. I actually want people to understand. So I'm going to go about it very differently. But with that, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like the video. If you liked it, it helps it get more reach. I have a really cool video coming Thursday. I'm really, really excited about it. But I will be talking to you guys soon. Have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.